So one of the areas in my life I consider myself pretty good at is problem solving, and in the case of War Thunder, I have many ideas that come to the game. For example, I'm using convertible RP to research remove vehicles like the Panther 2. Now the question is, will Gaijin ever use them? We'll never know, but at the end of the day, I do like having these sort of discussions because it does bring up a lot of different topics that other people can actually discuss, and it overall is a positive whenever it comes to the game. But speaking of ideas, I do have another one, and I really want to hear your guys' feedback on this because I'm not 100% sure on how the implementation of this will be, but also at the same time, I feel like it's going to be a huge improvement to War Thunder. And then also, I want you to play devil's advocate. Don't view this as only from a player point of view, view it from Gaijin as well, and see if you can find any flaws in it and to where it maybe just will never come to the game. Now, the problem that I'm trying to address is that Gaijin said they wanted to put in RP boosters for people who've gotten to top tier within their tech trees on the 2023 roadmap. As you know, 2023 is long gone and 2024 is here, and really nothing has been talked about whenever it comes to adding the bonuses to getting to top tier in certain nations. Now, I can assume from Gaijin's point of view, it's completely because they don't know how to make it fair, while also still being able to make money from people who feel like a golden eagle in vehicles. As you know, that's probably the biggest concern that they have, is if they make it too fair and, you know, people are able to get stuff very quickly, people just won't use money to buy the game. But if we look at their idea was pretty much to give a booster for 3 games every day, depending on what vehicles you had researched. So if you had like a top tier vehicle researched, you would get like a 50% booster for 3 games. It's an okay idea, but at the same time, 3 games really isn't a lot. And then also, if you have games that are just crap for that day, then it's pretty much just useless of that booster to begin with. Now, here's my idea, and I honestly think it's way better than what Gaijin was planning to do, which is to give an RP booster and make it a consistent booster on the number of vehicles that people have spaded. I do want to preface this, it's a lot of math. If you really want to get into the weeds of this, it is extremely a lot of math that Gaijin will have to do. So definitely it still has one of the main problems from the other, suggestion, which is how did they make it fair without it seeming like it is a complete waste of time of putting it in the game. So I'm not really going to do specific math whenever it comes to like the percentages and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to leave it up to Gaijin if they do want to do this idea in the future, but also just realize that I am speaking with this idea with super unrealistic numbers. In my opinion, for the numbers that I've picked to just use for an example, they already seem extremely high for what they are. So we'll definitely have to review them at a later date if Gaijin ever plans to actually do this. But for the first example, let's say that you spade the whole of America rank 1 ground forces. Just because those vehicles are so easy to actually spade and actually to research, the percentage increase should be around like 0.005%, which means that with 11 vehicles that you can spade within 1 afternoon of playing the game, you'll get a total of 0.05% of a boost towards all of the vehicles that you start to research later. Now let's look at the end of the spectrum of the tech tree, which is the American top tier, which only has 4 vehicles as the current right now, which is all rank 8. Those should be probably like 0.25%, like 0.25. Now you may say, dog, those are incredibly small numbers. While I do agree, yes, but the whole point is to promote people to spade and also play their nation. Even with these numbers, the potential boost you can get is probably way too high for what it is. You also have to remember that the areas of rank 2 to 7 would count for this boost as well, and then you have naval, you also have helicopters, you also have air forces. So the potential boost is probably going to be extremely high just because of how many vehicles are within War Thunder. I mean, thinking about it now, Gaijin might actually have to introduce some sort of cap to the percentage that you can possibly get because it is kind of insane depending on what they do. I mean, they can definitely decrease the amount, they can make it extremely small, smaller than the numbers even that I picked out for the example. But at the same time, whenever you view that, some people view math as in like, if it's a very small number, it's very insignificant. And then if people feel like the whole idea is very insignificant and they're not really getting much from this whole bonus, then what's the point in them doing it? So Gaijin has to make it lucrative, but at the same time, they can't make it so lucrative to where people won't pay for the game. And I know it's a sad thing to talk about, but at the same time, the game needs to make money, and the old tycoon that is willing to spend like 10 grand on this game is one person that Gaijin really wants to be playing the game. So it definitely is something that has to be noted. Overall, I think this idea is way better than having the 3 games a day where you get a 50% increase. It promotes people to actually play and spade different vehicles and play their nations instead of just playing their premiums or their meta vehicles that they find within the textures. And it rewards playtime towards the game, which I think is incredibly important to actually reward whenever it comes to War Thunder. But I did want to make like a list of positive and negatives to this whole idea because I do think there are some. It definitely needs to be noted of what possibly can happen because of this, and also just what people actually benefit from like being introduced to the game. So one of the first positives that we will probably see very, very, very quickly is that people will start playing other vehicles instead of just meta defining premium vehicles or vehicles that can grind out tech trees quickly. because people will definitely try to min-max their boost amount that Gaijin actually allows them to actually get. And in turn, it should make the grind for vehicles easier, which means more statistics whenever it comes to getting data for them. So like, for example, within the last set of battle rating changes, vehicles like the Yak 30 or vehicles like the Venom, which were just completely not even introduced into the battle rating changes when they should have been, will maybe actually get introduced because people played them to trade them, which in turn will give Gaijin more statistics to actually see if these vehicles should go down or go up in battle rating. So the next improvement would be for vehicles that have suffering issues like stock EFS, or you have vehicles which need a certain module to actually do well. With a boost, you'd be able to get that module very, very quickly, which in turn would give you a better experience playing those vehicles. As we know, rank 7, whenever it comes to ground forces, having stock EFS is one of the worst experiences of the game, probably in general. And then also an aircraft not having good missiles, or not having bombs, or not having castle ordnance is also a huge negative whenever it comes to actually spading those vehicles as well. So it would be just good to have a boost to be able to get through vehicles which are just annoying, and that is one of the big things that this could improve upon as well. And then one thing it would also bring is starting new tech trees for different people, because as we know, tech trees like China, which have been one of the bane of existence for people wanting to play, just because the early tiers are kind of copy paste whenever it comes to the Chinese tech tree, and a lot of people don't want to go through that again. They went through it within the Russian tech tree, they went through it through the American tech tree, and they played those vehicles. So whenever you have a boost that would just allow you to get through those vehicles quicker, it means that the grind is decreased and you can get to the vehicles that you want to get to. Now I know a lot of people have already probably just bought premiums whenever it comes to China and just skipped all those vehicles to begin with, but if you're spading those vehicles, it just means that you're going to have more of a boost whenever you get to actual vehicles that you want to play within those tech trees. And then also you have one benefit to spading vehicles which people don't really realize, is that whenever you completely grind out a row of modules within a vehicle, you get a bonus to the vehicle that you're currently researching, which can be huge, especially for top tier vehicles. I know a lot of people that actually wait to spade top tier vehicles whenever a new vehicle comes out, just because of the amount of RP that you can get from the modification research, which is just a good thing. And with more people spaded vehicles, you get more of that modification research, which means you'll grind even quicker whenever it comes to War Thunder. Now the negative section is actually pretty hard to do, because it's very hard to actually think negatively about your own ideas, which means it's very important to actually get other people involved in it and get their opinions on your ideas so they can find the flaws in it, and also just find where it doesn't work and where they can improve upon it to where it will work even better. But after taking a quick step away from the video making process and kind of just deeply thinking about it, making some pizza dough for pizzas, which is really good to be honest, you should try it sometime. But at the same time, there's a ton of negatives actually thought of through that whole process of just deeply thinking about it, and it's one of those things that could kill the idea. And the biggest one is one that's still applied to the one that Gaijin seems to originally still be going after, which is the bonus for 3 games, which is that if Gaijin does not completely get this correct and they don't get the economy correctly tuned, this could be very bad for the game. Like I said, if they make it way too easy, then people just will not want to pay for the game, which means the game dies because they can't make any money. So it's definitely one of those things that they have to be very careful about. And then also, if you make it not lucrative enough, then people will get mad at you, because what was the point in adding it in the first place? So 100% it is a double-edged sword that they have to be very aware about how they actually do this. Now if we do look at it in this way, right, so if they do make it to where, let's just say it's very lucrative and they want to quickly fix it, you know what they're going to do to it? They're going to make it to where the newer top tier vehicles which come out probably be like 500,000 RP, and then for existing vehicles with an economy update, they might actually go up in RP requirements, which will be a negative, and what was the point in actually doing this in the first place? So it is one of those things. It's the, like I said, double-edged sword. They need to get it correct. If they don't, the game will die because no one's buying stuff, and if they get it wrong, people will be mad because they will say, what was the point in even like giving our hopes up on this whole idea to begin with? And then, like I said, this should be a bonus towards your RP gains. It should not be a requirement to do. If you still want to just go play one vehicle over and over and over, if you just want to play your premiums, that should still be what you do. You don't have to, it should just be a bonus for players. The next negative is that I think the average War Thunder player still doesn't even understand any of this whenever it comes to War Thunder. A lot of people right now probably watching this video, if you're watching this video right now and you don't even know what a spaded symbol is or what a spade icon is on the vehicles, well, I'm going to quickly describe it to you. It's whenever you research all the of modifications for a vehicle, which means after you do that, you have the vehicle spaded, which just means it's finished. That's all it really means. It's not that big of a thing. So if you've never noticed it, just go look in your tech trees. You'll see spaded icons on top of vehicles, which just means that you're completely done with it. And while saying that, I don't think people will realize, especially if they're newer players to the game, that this is a valid strategy into getting more research whenever it comes to their vehicles. So it will be something that Gaijin needs to heavily explain to players what spading is, what spading icons are. This can give you more RP if you do this sort of strategy. It definitely needs to be promoted within the game. And if Gaijin doesn't do this, then I feel like a lot of people would just be left out, and the people who do understand, the people who want to go find more information, will be grinding the game quicker because they have more vehicles spaded within the game. Finally, for the last negative, is that it will incentivize Gaijin to increase RP requirements for top tier vehicles, which are going to be coming out in the future, like F-35, F-22, Abrams X, the whole shebang whenever it comes to those. You also have a problem which has already been hitting Gaijin a lot, which is incentivized reasons to actually put in like backfield vehicles. Like, for example, we don't really see that many World War II tanks anymore. We don't really see that many rank 2 to 3 to 4 vehicles anymore. You have like 1 or 2 per major update, but most of the update content is based around top tier, which really, can you blame them? It's making them a lot of money. It's what people have been requesting, and it's what really just makes them a lot of money. So it's one of those things that is going to hurt a little bit, just because it's one of the areas, for me at least, I really enjoy is playing those vehicles that they backfill throughout the nation. And if they add a bonus to nations or to vehicles, what will be kind of the point of adding those vehicles anymore? People would just speed grind through them, and as we know, it's not really just a freebie that they can add to the game. They have to pay for the models, they have to pay for the coding, they have to pay for everything whenever it comes to those vehicles as well. So they're really just a lost leader. And if the whole point is to make the grind faster, where you just go speed grind through those vehicles to begin with, it really doesn't incentivize them from adding those vehicles. It really incentivizes them adding a ton of top tier vehicles, which have basically they've been doing to begin with. So maybe for some people it's not a negative, but for me at least it is, because I do see it being a huge problem with this whole idea as well. So yeah, I think it's a good idea in general. Like I said, Gaijin will have to do the math. It's one of those things that I'm not going to do because it's not my game. It's their game to actually fix, but it's a really good idea, and I really want to put it out in the public so it can be criticized, it can be improved upon. I mean, I know this is going to happen, but people are going to take the video at face value, and they're going to be like, yes, we support this, it's a boost to RP, but at the same time, please view this from a criticized point of view. Make your own forum suggestions, make your own forum posts, make your own Reddit threads. I don't really care what you do about it. The more discussion that this sort of thing has around it, the more likely it is to actually do something. And I feel like that is very important to actually kind of realize that, the more people that are involved with this, the more faults we can find with it, the more negatives, the more positives that can be added to it. And honestly, that is just one of the biggest things I really want to happen with this idea. Just like the idea I had with convertible RP, whenever it comes to researching old vehicles which have been took out of the game. There's been a lot of improvement upon it. Hopefully Gaijin does it at some point, and then also hopefully Gaijin does this at some point, because I think it will be overall a positive game. So yeah, I do hope everyone has a wonderful day, and we will see you guys in the next Worth Hunting video.